I am back from Alaska. I'm going to share the trip with you. Hopefully, you can learn something along the way, tips and tricks. This might be a long video, bookmark it, whatever you need to do, save it, subscribe, like, do all the things because you may want to come back to this later. It was an 8-day trip in total. We flew in the night before to Seattle. I had surprised my mom on Christmas with this cruise that was leaving on her birthday. So it was kind of like a twofer because while I bought the cruise for Christmas, I did a bunch of things for her birthday as well. I had her room decorated, which was okay. It really wasn't that great of decorations, but it made her feel special. When she walked up to the door, it said surprise on the door. And then inside, there was a empty picture frame that said happy birthday that she could put a picture in. And then there were some hanging like little streamers, but it was not balloons and all that festivity on the inside. So I don't know, but it made her feel special. And then I got a chocolate cake that was delivered to the room that said happy birthday on it. That we ate every day of the cruise. We got some extra plates and utensils from the buffet, and we ate that cake every day. And it was honestly the best dessert of everything. So the cake I would recommend. I don't know about the decorations so much, but anyway, made her feel special. On her birthday, we boarded the ship on her birthday, and I gave her a present, and there was a t-shirt in there that said, "It's my birthday." And she loved it. It really made her feel special. So we flew in on July 3rd, the day before her birthday, which is 4th of July. We flew into Seattle. I highly recommend if you're going on a trip that you come in the day before. I have cruised, this is my fifth time to Alaska, and I have cruised many, many times before. And by the way, I'm not coming to you with this video as a travel agent. I'm not going to try to know it all. I'm not even. I'm only coming from my point of view. This was my personal experience, and I hope that is enough for you. I hope it works and it's helpful. And I'll tell you the differences between me and some of the other people so that you can kind of figure out where you set in there, right? So I'm a 53-year-old woman traveling with a 73-year-old mom. Experiences of families and kids and teens and large groups, everything's going to be very different. So I have traveled though before as a large group with kids. I've traveled with just my daughter. I've traveled with just my teenage daughter and my adult daughter. I went to Alaska once with my two brothers, my two daughters, and their fiancés and boyfriends. So I've kind of done the whole thing. So this was just me and my mom. So go the day before because I have been chasing a ship at the last minute, barely getting on time, and it is the worst. Plus, if you go early, you get more time on the ship. Now they're going to give you an appointment time. I can't tell you how it always is, but I can tell you that the two times I went, they didn't even pay attention to the appointment time at all. This last time we did order, there's something we traveled Royal Caribbean. It was the Anthem of the Seas, and they have what's called a key. I don't know what it's called, the key, and it's like an upgrade where you get on and off the excursions earlier. You get special seats, which weren't so special in the um, theater, and you get a special lunch again, which we didn't like so much. Getting on the ship, I would not pay for the key again. And I also did the same thing on Celebrity. I paid for whatever their upgrade was, and I also did not find it valuable. And I also paid for concierge class once, and I also didn't find that valuable. So I'll tell you what I do think is good, but I just didn't think any of those upgrades personally were worth doing. So anyway, our key got us in to move, bumped us up from a 1 p.m. appointment to an 11 a.m. appointment. So we were with the first group to get on the ship. And when I went on Celebrity a few months ago, I went on at 11 and I had an appointment at 1, and I just thought I wanted to blog and get at the ship before everybody got on. So I just thought I'd tell them that and see what they said, and they never even asked what my appointment time was. But I will tell you this, if they ask and you tell them, because I heard it happen, if they ask and you show up at 11 and you don't have the key and your appointment's at 1, they will make you wait at the port. So be prepared for that. If you try to get in early, you might be standing around waiting a little bit. So going the day before to get your extra time, make it an extra day for vacation. I got us the nicest hotel for us, nicest for us. Waterfront. It's called the Edgewater. It's in Seattle. It's near the ports. We still had to get a lift over to the ports, but it's near the ports. Dinner was incredible. The rooms are adorable. We loved our stay at the Edgewater. Really, really loved it. We each had the waterfront rooms. If I didn't say that already, we each got our own rooms, and it was fabulous. So if you can, go in the day before, go be a tourist. If you're going to Seattle, go to the Space Needle, go to the aquarium, go do some of those things and make it fun. So we were well rested when we got up for the cruise the next day. Like I said, it was her birthday then, and we headed for the ship. Now, airport outfit, I forgot to mention for, I'm going to kind of go through this in a chronological order or not. I don't know. We'll see how I kind of take this. But I do want to talk about clothes and packing because I think that's really important. And I'll share what I packed that I'm glad I packed and maybe what I packed that I didn't end up needing. And my mom and I had a ridiculous amount of bags. But looking back on it, I would bring the exact same number of bags. It was the right number of bags for us. Now, we flew first class on Alaska, which meant we could check 2 bags, and we could carry on a personal item, and we could carry on a bag that goes overhead. And that's exactly what we did. We each brought like a little backpack, a little carry on bag. Our purse went in there. And then we each brought an extra bag. Kind of one of them was almost empty. We brought it as a backup in case we went shopping. We needed to have something to put our stuff in. So that's kind of why we brought that extra bag. My mom didn't really need it, but she was able to carry it on as her extra. And that was really smart because it was full when we came back. Not even of all the stuff we bought, just of the overlap that ended up happening because you never pack the same way when you're leaving. So that extra bag was gold. That was really smart. So I brought 2 hard case luggages, a big one and a small one. I've got the Toomey bags. I don't even know if they sell them anymore. Mine are pretty old. But I almost bought because I'm traveling so much this year. I'm on like my 4th trip. I think it's July. I was gonna buy some new fancy luggage, and I was looking at it going, I don't even think I couldn't find anything that felt worth it to make the splurge that was really that much better than the Toomey luggage that I have that has held up so well. Um, anyway, so I stuck with that. My mom, we took her shopping at TJ Maxx, I think it was, and got her a set of 3 soft luggage, and that was fantastic. So big one, small one, bag over the shoulder, and a backpack was kind of how we packed ours. Okay, so the airport outfit. This was a fun one because I had just picked up these pants, and they are basically sweatpants that look like jeans. They weren't cheap, but I love them. And I just picked up a little blue top right before I left from Amazon because my white t shirt hadn't come in yet. And it was easy and it was quick and it did the job. And then I wore my white Vionic, I think it's the Vionic Winnie tennis shoes. I'll tag whatever I can in the video for you. And oh my gosh, those tennis shoes were amazing. I also have them in yellow, and I also have them in like a leopard print, and they're fantastic. High arch. I've got a wide toe bed now, getting older. They were perfect for that. Love them. So this was a great little airport outfit. And then as you can see, I'm showing you what the room looks like at the Edgewater. That first day there, I'm wearing a little sweatshirt, and it turns out I never wore that sweatshirt again. I wound up wearing this fantastic wrap that I got from Beyond Yoga, and which I like that brand. And it has big pockets, and it was long enough to, if I was wearing a flannel or something, it covered the back. It was casual, but still looked nice. In fact, I did wear it to the dining room several times. Not for fancy, but I did wear it to the dining room. On that note, I'm just going to say this in case I forget because I don't have that many dining room pictures. Everybody wants to know what to wear at the dining room. If you're bougie, you cruise all the time and you're somebody that loves a dining room experience, dress up. If that's what you like, dress up. Okay. Some people, I've even had a couple people on my videos say, "Why are you wearing boots to the dining room?" Or "Why are you wearing that jacket to the dining room?" Everybody did. It was shorts and it was tennis shoes and it was jeans and it was baseball backwards baseball caps and it was super casual. Dude, his hair is getting all up in my throat. I love my cats, but that's too much. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Um, Now, there on our particular cruise, there were two formal nights. And when we say formal, we're not talking tux, black tie, tuxes. We're really not. Formal for women are usually some sort of a dress. The younger girls were wearing very short dresses and skirts. The more mature women were wearing a little bit longer, but even those were more like just think cocktail dresses, pretty much. And some women just had on like two-piece pantsuits, and a lot of women didn't dress up at all. Okay, so anything goes. You have to know that. When I was on Celebrity, they did ask one of the people in my party to take his hat off at breakfast. He was very offended. But they did do that. So I can't tell you what cruise lines are going to do what and how they're going to respond. But I can tell you what I just got off of. It was the most casual I'd ever seen. And this was Royal Caribbean. And literally, men are in there with backwards baseball caps at the dinner table, lots and lots and lots of boots, tennis shoes, everything. Because what's happening is people are coming right in from their excursions and they're going to the dining room. The formal days are on the sea days that we don't get off the ship to give you extra time. Okay. I just wore like a nice black sweater and black pants. I think my mom had black slacks on and a pair of like sandals, not like flip flops, but a little bit dressier sandal with a tiny little heel. Nothing fancy at all. And again, some people didn't do anything at all. So I always like to say, you dress however you want to. They do have photographers out and pictures. They walk around to the tables and take pictures. So if that's of interest to you, have everybody dress the same or have everybody dress up so that you get your family photos. For me and my mom, we still loved our photos, even though we didn't get all dressed up. So, anyway, that's my take on that. Now, let's talk about boarding the ship. Um, so it gets cold rather quickly, I must say. We went on, we Seattle was cool. Seattle was like high 60s or something like that. So there wasn't even, when we got on the ship, people went straight to the pool. I will say that. Lots of people in the pool. The sun was still out in Seattle before everything got really gray. But there were people in the pool the whole time. My ship had a solarium, a covered pool, and a couple jacuzzis and an uncovered pool, which they ended up closing down a bunch of the time. But people will swim no matter what, even as cold as it is. So but once the ship starts moving, it gets cool very quickly. Keep that in mind. You're going to want to have some sort of a sweatshirt or a jacket. I probably would have ditched that tan sweatshirt, never even brought that, and just stuck with what I wore all week was that little wrap. I wore it everywhere all week long, and a coat and maybe something if you want to wear something nice to the dining room. If you think you need to have a shawl or a sweater. I've got a bunch of those cute little, just cheap sweaters, a black one, a white one, a gray that I can put over like a little summer dress. I packed one of those, super easy to pack. But I never did use that sweatshirt a second. Oh, I take it back. I sure did. I wore it in Canada and it was amazing. So, no, I would take that again because I wore it in Canada. Canada was hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. Sun would come out, everything would come off, the layers would come off, the clouds coverage, and we're in a pedicab taking a tour. We'd put them back on. So those jackets were really important. The different weights and styles of jackets actually served me really well. I just would not take the parka again. You know, I love whale watching. I don't know if I already said that in this video or not because I've remade this video 3 times. I love whale watching. I can stand out on a balcony for many, 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 many hours. And that's when I need the most clothes, is when I stand out there watching for whales. Now, you can go find a window and watch for whales if you don't want to stand on the balcony. But for me, standing on the balcony, the main things for me that really helped were I had a hoodie the whole week. I wore that hoodie like the entire week. My hair was either up in a bun or it was down and I had a hoodie on. These things, these are fantastic. So these are like these little super warmers. There's hand warmers, there's toe warmers. I put these in my boots. I put them in my coat pockets. I'd slide it on the inside of the coat right there. They heat up. I put one in each of my leggings. Again, if you're not standing out of the balcony for hours and hours and hours, you don't need anything like this. This is just for the people that are obsessed with whale watching, like I am, that like to park yourself with your coffee out on the balcony for long periods of time. These are huge. Or if you're going to be landing on the glacier or you're going someplace and you know it's really cold, these are great. Pick up a bag of these, you're set for the week. I also have an electric jacket that's really nice. You press a button, the heat comes on. I have an electric scarf. I never even used it this trip. So my trip was gray, rainy, gray the whole week. I have been to Alaska before where it's incredibly sunny and beautiful, and I've been there before when it's a mix. This was the extreme side of gray. So we hardly saw the sun the whole week, but that is not a complaint because we still loved it and it was just a different kind of experience. It was still beautiful. Royal Caribbean, the ship as a whole, we had a great experience. So I should have started off with that. I don't know if I did, but we had a great experience. I did not love the food this trip. Didn't love the food. It was fine, but you would expect better than fine, but it was really just fine. And it was upsells everywhere you look. So the buffet was just kind of ugh, not real plentiful compared to some of the other ships I've been on. And I just got off Celebrity Edge class 3 months ago, so I'm a little bit spoiled, I think, from that ship. But not, it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of variety. The desserts, very, very small section, which is strange to me. And I'm from Vegas, so we do buffets in a very big way. The desserts were very small. There was one point where we were so excited because there was a Johnny Rockets on the ship. I couldn't believe it, but it was all extra. And you're kind of thinking like, I paid all this money to eat, and I'm going to pay $17 for a burger and fries. It kind of felt weird. And nobody was ever there. I never saw anybody there. I'm sure somebody did, but I never saw anybody there. So there was pizza all the time. Not a lot of selections, but there was a little pizza place that so you could get something. And then there were a couple little a la carte like coffee shop type things that you could go in and grab a veggie sandwich roll, or they had lots of little tiny sandwiches. So if you're just trying to kind of like grab something in between, that was nice. All the fancy coffees were an upsell, which was surprising to me. They had a Starbucks on the ship and it was all extra. The celebrity ship I went on, it was extra. It wasn't Starbucks, but they would make you whatever you wanted. If you had the all inclusive beverage package, it was extra if you didn't have the beverage package. So I had the beverage package on both of these so I could get whatever I want, but those coffees were not included. Truthfully, I never asked, but there was a pricing board next to it. And I also went into this little Irish bar. There was like day 3 or something. My mom just wanted to read. She spent a lot of time in her room and she just wanted to read. And so I was like, I really just want to go down and get an espresso martini and sit and listen to some music or something. So I went down to this little Irish bar and they had a little menu and I ordered pretzels and mustard and they charged me $4. And I was laughing, going, this is insane. This is crazy that everything is an upsell. So dining room was free, was included, except for they had extras at the bottom of the menu. If you wanted a steak, if you wanted this, that, there were extras at the bottom of the menu. Then there were a bunch of upscale, not a bunch, a few upscale dining restaurants, an Italian place, a steakhouse. Now, because we had the key upgrade, which I don't recommend, but because we paid for this key upgrade, we got a free lunch when we boarded the ship from the fancy steakhouse, and we did not like it. So we were very glad that we did not upgrade to the steakhouse based on that lunch. In fact, we left. We didn't even stay for the lunch. We wound up running up to the buffet to see what we could grab while it was still open. My mom and I are not foodies. She's a vegetarian. They did not have a lot of vegetarian options. As a matter of fact, it was odd. They didn't even understand. It's like most of the staff doesn't speak English, is not their first language. And my mom's trying to say I'm vegetarian and vegetarian. They still brought her, like, she ate French onion soup every night that they brought her. And when I got home, I looked it up and it's made with beef broth. And she'd tell them vegetarian, vegetarian, vegetarian. They brought her baked potato soup with bacon in it, and they did not have a separate vegetarian menu. So you got to be kind of prepared for those kinds of things. There was always something that was an option, but she's pretty picky. So then you're kind of stuck with like macaroni and cheese, or but we kind of finagled it to where she would say, I want the chicken dinner, but with no chicken. And then the sides were like potatoes and carrots and whatever. And so she kind of make her own meal. She'd order a salad, that type of thing. So it all worked out. And we loved our dining room experience. We loved being with each other. Our dinners were long. It was nice just being served. So I don't want to take away from that. The staff tried really hard they did a great job. They just couldn't accommodate special requests. And I've been on cruise ships before where they'll go get you something from another dining room. They'll even, I don't know how they do it, but this was not that. You pretty much got to order what's on the menu. You could do and you could kind of mix things, but it had to be whatever the food is that was prepared in the restaurant, which is normal if you go to a restaurant. But I've been on cruise ships where they pull from one dining room to another and things like that. So this wasn't as customized as all that. Okay. So that's kind of the conversation around the dining room. Listen to this. Here's a good tip. When you go to your dining room the first night, they assign you a table. If you don't like that table, you need to speak up right away. If you love that table, you need to speak up right away. You need to say, I would like, on my cruise, you literally had to make reservations for dinner. You had to make reservations for show. I didn't love that. I like to be able to move and shake and do what I want, when I want, how I want. And that was a little rigid for me. So if you have dinner reservations at 6:45 and you show up at 7, your table has probably been given to somebody else. So one thing is, when you board the ship, go to the dining room. Go look at the tables, look at the room, and you talk to somebody there about, hey, I would love to have table 183, because it's 6 people and it's by a window or it's this, that, and the other. The other thing that's crazy, like let's just say you go with 2 people, the way the tables are, they're not right next to each other, but it's pretty much like you're dining with other people. It's like 2 here and then 2 here and then 2 here. So you do kind of wind up talking to whoever this is, or it's just awkward. Nobody speaks. We had that happen too. We had one couple sit down that were super friendly. It was very casual, and the other ones were more, it was a little bit more awkward. So we wound up like night 3 saying, hey, can we get a different table that's kind of off by itself a little bit, because they have some single ones too that don't have people next to it. And so we were still able to move to a window table. But you got to communicate that stuff. And if you have a reserved table, you got to show up right on time, because they will give it to somebody else. They do have breakfast in the dining room, and I highly recommend it. We did the buffet. We did room service the first 2 days because we were whale watching. Then I think we did the buffet, and then the other 4 days we did the dining room, and we liked that much, much better. Okay. So there's the little talks about the dining room. As far as tips go in the dining room, I prepaid all my tips, but I still ended up tipping at the end. It's I used ChatGPT to pull up, what do you think you should be tipping people, and I kind of went by its remark. It was kind of like, at the end it was $40 for the head waiter per person, and then it was $20 for the assistant waiter I think I just gave them each $40. And I don't remember, something like that. It wasn't this grandiose amount, but we had prepaid our tips. I don't know if I would prepay tips again, because nobody knows you unless it's required, because nobody knows you're prepaying. So they're still looking for a tip at the end. I think we each left our room attendant like $100. I don't know if that's right or not right. I used ChatGPT to it said like $10 a day per person. And we were there 7 days. So I think I just put $100 in each one. And he seemed very, very pleased. I don't know. Keep in mind, too, when you show up to the ship, you're going to have people there that are offering to take your bags for you. You can carry your bags onto the ship and drop them in a designated area or put them at your room, depending on what the ship allows for. You're going to be fighting with elevators. It's kind of a nightmare to do that if you've got a lot of bags, in my opinion. But some people do that. We like to just let the I hand $20 or so to bell captain or whatever they're called on the at the port. They see to it that my luggage gets up to my room. I don't think about it. I go run around the ship. I eat, I grab a drink, I'm taking video, doing whatever I'm doing, and then my bags show up at my door. That's just the way we prefer to do it. Now, when we left, Seattle has a special program where if your flight leaves at 12 noon or after, that's what the lady told me, 12 noon or after, you can have your bags sent straight to the airport, which is what we did. So the two bags we were each going to check, that's four bags total. We put out the night before at 10 o'clock. We didn't see them again until baggage claim in Las Vegas. They got them on the plane. They brought them down. All we carried on was our carry on and our little personal item. That was free and that was worth it. I loved that. I put air tags in all of my luggage so I could monitor if there was any issue, if the luggage got misplaced. That was smart. I put air tag in each one of my mom's bags and each one in my bags. I'll tag them for you if I can. They're just these little white electronic tracking devices. And we literally, as soon as you pull the little plug out, your phone, if you have an iPhone, it'll recognize the AirTag and it'll say, what do you want to save this as? And I saved it like his mom's luggage, Lori's backpack, or whatever. And then you just drop it in wherever and then it tracks it. And then you can change the name on it later if you put it in a different bag. They're really cool. Nice to have one like on your keychain, that kind of thing. Now, my ship had the most incredible kids area, especially tween teen. I okay, Royal Caribbean is families. It is families. It is crawling with families. It is not just mom and pop. It's not just honeymooners. It's not a lot of singletons. It's families. That's their number one thing. So everywhere you look, mom, dad, and two kids, mom, dad, grandma, auntie, and four kids, brother, John, uncle. It was that kind of thing. Big tables full of people, large groups of people. So they cater to families, which is nice if you want to keep the kids amused or you have young adults that want to turn it up more, be it the clubs, the 80s party, the 80s, the theme parties, things like that. It's got more of that kind of a vibe, where Celebrity was more low key, chill, hardly any kids, mostly adults. Royal definitely has a higher energy vibe to it, which is nice, but that also means there's going to be a lot of families and a lot of kids. Like the pools were just packed with kids. So the I went to the very, very back of the ship and I couldn't believe what I saw. This giant, like, two-story little amusement park type thing that had basketball courts. It had two large courts of sports going on at the same time. I'm not sure if they were both basketball. Then they had this huge Xbox PlayStation area. They had go-karts, they had roller skating, they had all kinds of little indoor soccer arcade games and a huge arcade. Then they had a flow rider, surfboard, actual water where the water comes in and you dress in a bathing suit and you're riding like a surfboard. They had indoor skydiving. Oh, thinking back to when my kids were little, that would be the ship I'd want to be on. 100%. I wouldn't want to be sitting in that room very long, but I'd want my kids to be able to go there. And if they're tweens and they can go in on their own and do their thing, oh, it was amazing. Then they had like the Adventure Ocean Kids Camp. They had what's called I forget what they called the teen room. Was it called the library? There was like a teen area. Everybody looked very happy and very entertained. You just didn't see bored people sitting around this ship. Everybody was very busy, but that did mean lots and lots of kids on board. Now, as far as excursions and more on the outfits, so one night for I've already kind of covered dinner. One thing that's really good in Alaska is the button-up flannels. Button-up flannels are great because you can layer them with multiple layers. And in my case, I brought too many because I wouldn't wear the ones that were tight even in the slightest bit. And that has to do with me being 53 years old, I think, and not wanting to be uncomfortable for any reason anymore. So the one flannel I wore the one day in Skagway was perfection. Skagway was gray, but still pretty warm. So we were finding ourselves, I took my big coat into Skagway and I really regretted that. I wish I'd have just brought my sweatshirt. We saw rainy and like 48 or something that turned out to be high 50s and it didn't rain. So I wish I would have just had my sweatshirt. We were very, very hot in Skagway most of the day. We just did shopping in Skagway. In Juneau, actually, Juneau was first. In Juneau, we did whale watching. I got to tell you, we took a 5.5 hour whale watching, a 5.5 hour excursion. Excursions are very, very expensive, but they're nice because they're planned. You know, they tell you where to go. There's somebody planning to pick you up in a bus and take you to a boat or take you hiking or take you to the helicopter. The ship will wait for you if the excursion is late for any reason, where if you just book on your own and it's not through the ship, there's no guarantee they're going to wait for you if it happens to be late. But I don't love booking the excursions because I don't like getting trapped on things I don't like to be on. I want to be able to leave if I'm not where I want to be. So we did, but we did the Mendenhall Glacier and whale watching wildlife adventure quest, I think it was called. And what they did is they loaded us up in a bus, and the bus driver was great. He was funny, it was comfortable. He took us about 20 minutes to Mendenhall Glacier Visitor Center. We had about 45 minutes at the Mendenhall Glacier. And really, there's only a couple things you can do at the Mendenhall Glacier. You can just walk to the glacier and back, this little 10-minute walk to get pictures, which is what we did, and it was perfect. You could do the 20-minute walk to the waterfalls, which is what me and my teenager did years ago. But it's like 20 minutes up and 20 minutes back, so you got to book it. You got to go because that the bus will be gone. You got to really move fast if you're going to do that. But a lot of people did that. And then there's a little visitor center in there with a tiny little store that you could go in. Bring your own water jugs because they didn't sell bottled water, but everywhere we looked had water refill stations. But you had to buy a cup there or you had to bring your own cup. The other thing I highly recommend is bring your own coffee mug. I brought for my mom and myself, I brought us each 25-ounce coffee mugs. They were everything. Every single morning, except for the day I had coffee delivered. You can have coffee delivered to your room. The problem is with having coffee delivered is that you have to still get up and get dressed, let somebody into your room, and even if it's free, there's gratuities. It's a whole thing. Plus, you don't know what time you're waking up. You want to get your coffee. So I find it, for the most part, to be easier just to get up, throw on my yoga pants and my beanie or my bun in my hair and run down and grab my own coffee. I know exactly where to go, where there's no people. I figured that out very early on in the ship. You don't go to the buffet. You go to one of the other three coffee stations. The mugs that I carried were not touching the surface of the coffee. Somebody said that's very unsanitary, but yet that's what they sold there was your own cups. There were no to-go cups. You either had a tiny little porcelain coffee cup or you bought a reusable mug on the ship and that's what you filled it with. There were no That's what they were encouraging anyway. But somebody mentioned that's a quick way to spread germs and I could see how it could be if you're touching the surface, like you have to push the thing to get the coffee, but these weren't like that. So I was able to put the coffee on there without touching anything. But anyway, that's what we did. There was no way we were going to go fill that tiny little porcelain cup. By the time I got up to the room, it would be cold and gone. So that's the way we did it. But you can order coffee to your room every day. There's no charge, but there is a gratuity. They did charge, at least on Royal, they did charge for food. So there was like a free continental, and then but if you wanted hot breakfast like eggs or bacon or any of that kind of stuff, it was like 7.95 service charge. So it's still all very cheap. So you do it to however you want to do it, but they do come in the room, which is kind of annoying for me in the morning. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. So, water jug. My mom brought a water jug with her, and she was set. The guy put ice in our room every night. She would go to one of those water stations. She would fill up with her water. Now, what I did too, this was something worth doing. There are some things that were not worth doing. I would not again pay for the key upgrade or the celebrity one either. I didn't like that one either. The one that gets you like better seats in the show, they were not better seats. It's weird. They actually make you go upstairs. You're like up and about when you just walk in and get a great seat. That made no sense to me. There were worse seats than where we started. You get on and off your excursions apparently earlier. There was like a separate line, but we didn't discuss. We didn't find any benefit to that. There was a lunch when we first got on the ship. We didn't even like the lunch. So for me, and I'm not complaining, I'm trying to just tell you what was worth it, what was not worth it. For us, that was not worth the upgrade. Where was I going with that with the key upgrade? Her bottled water. I can't even remember. Oh, bottled water. So Royal has a thing where you can order bottled water to be in your room when you arrive. So I ordered too much for my mom's room, but it was enough for me because I drink a lot of water. So I ordered 12 bottles of water for each of our rooms for 7 days. I did not catch how big they were. I'd have to go look now. I think they were liters, but they were big bottles of water. Okay. They were not little bottles of water. And I don't think I paid attention when I was ordering the size of those waters. But you can also order them in like half of that, like 5 or 6 delivered to your room. Otherwise, even if you have water on the beverage pack, oh, they were Avion. They were Avion water versus the Crystal Geyser or whatever it was they were handing out in the little cheap bottles that crunch when you're carrying them. These were big, nice bottles of water. And they were, you can order half of them. I forgot it. What else I was going to say. Anyway, that's what we did. That was worth it all day long, was to have the bottled water delivered to our room. Okay, so Juneau excursion, that's what we did. Skagway, we just went shopping. Skagway is a beautiful little town. The walk was a little bit too much for my mom. If you read the details, it'll say things like, go shopping at Skagway right off the port. But it was a ways to walk into Skagway. Now, there are shuttles, but we didn't see any. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would have made sure we got on the shuttle because that was the only thing that was difficult about that day for her was it was just too much walking. She got really hot and it was a lot. And then we're walking all day around the shopping. So that would be the only thing that I would change. Lots of mosquitoes when we got off in Skagway, like biting us. We were all red in our face, in our arms, in our hands. And my mom said they weren't mosquitoes, but everybody else said they are mosquitoes. They look like little white winged things. Somebody else said they're called no-see-ums or something. But the bug bites were gone within a couple hours of getting back on the ship. We didn't see them anymore. I bought bug bite salve and itch cream and stuff that in Alaska when I was out. I was like, oh, those mosquito bites are going to hurt later. They disappeared. I don't know what they were exactly, but heads up on that. As soon as we got off the ship in Skagway, they were really, really, really bad and bit us the whole time we were out there. Did not have that experience in Juneau, and we did not have that experience in um, well, Canada was Canada had some mosquitoes too. They did. I mean, obviously they all do. It must just have to do with where you're the port and the location and all of that. So we only had 3 stops. We had Juneau, Skagway, and Victoria, Canada. We did not go to Ketchikan this time. I guess there's something to do with Royal and Ketchikan, the overcrowding and all of that. So we didn't go. Inside Passage is a do not miss. When you see that on your itinerary, don't miss the Inside Passage. I missed it the first year because I was getting a massage and I didn't know any better. But when you go through, you're going to go through this. The Inside Passage day was supposed to also be Ketchikan, I think it was, and they just took Ketchikan off the schedule. But it's usually in the morning, like 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. You go through this little fjord and the ice is coming off the glaciers. And please don't correct me if I'm saying anything wrong. I'm not a travel agent. I'm just a girl who likes to travel. But you see the glacier. I think this was Dawes Glacier was the one that we saw. Mendenhall was in Juneau, and the ice is floating in the water. The glacier is getting smaller and smaller every year because it's melting. We don't see as much ice today as we did, but it's still a really cool experience. It's very quiet. Sometimes there's whales right when you're coming in, there's whales right when you're coming out. We saw a lot of whales in Juneau. That's where I usually see the most is Juneau and going in and out of Victoria. I see a ton of whales. We saw humpbacks and lots of tails and things like that. And on the whale watching tour, though, we didn't see much. I would not do that again. Although my neighbors were on it just 3 weeks ago, and they had the most amazing experience. Mama and baby and breaching baby. So it's always hit and miss. But that was too long. So we went to Mendenhall Glacier, and then we got on a boat, and then we went whale watching for 2.5 hours or whatever. And my mom really liked it though. She liked it because she didn't want to go run around outside. She didn't like to stay outside in the cold. So she got to sit in the cozy cab on the inside of the boat, and she got to see whales for the first time in her life pretty close up. So for her, it was worth it. For me, I'd rather just stand on my balcony and watch the real thing. I mean, those were the real thing, but a little bit of a different experience. So take that for whatever you want. In Victoria, Canada, that's my favorite. Oh my gosh, do I love Victoria, Canada. Been there 5, 6 times. It is the most beautiful place. Gardens, the weather. Oh, it was incredible. I've been there before when it was a ridiculous heat wave, triple digits that nobody was expecting. And I shouldn't say triple digits. I could be misquoting, but very, very, very hot. Very hot. We were at Butchart Gardens or whatever that's called, where you go to see all the flowers, still dressed in all of our Alaska gear many years ago, and my daughter and I were just sweating. But this time it was like 50 something degrees and the cloud coverage, but then the sun would peek out, and then cloud coverage, the sun would peek out. So we were not going to do an excursion. I did not book an excursion for Victoria. I asked my mom what she wanted to do. In Skagway a few years ago, I did the railroad train. It was okay. Looking back now, I think my mom really would have liked it. But if she could choose between walking around Skagway and shop versus train, she would choose walk around and shop. It's very hard to do both. When our windows of time when we get off the ship are pretty short. It's very hard to go do a 5 hour excursion and then also go shopping or also go eat in the town. You'd really have to be pushing it. And if you're not that fast moving and you get tired, it's just too much. So we had to choose. So Canada, I asked her, do you want to just walk in and go shopping? Now Canada's the same thing. You can walk in. It's way too far for her. So as soon as we got off the port, I started looking. I asked a guy, I pulled a security guard or something, and he said, you can take a shuttle in, you can take a taxi in, you could take he gave me like 3 options. So we're walking out looking for the shuttle, and I look over and I see pedicabs. I love pedicabs. Nice, comfortable pedicabs. I saw rickshaws and all that too. I didn't want one of those, but I saw pedicabs, and I thought, let's just take a pedicab into town. So I walk over and I ask, and what do you know? Somebody comes out and starts trying to sell us a whole tour. And my mom's like, she was so excited. And the guy's talking about a 2.5 hour pedicab ride through Victoria, through the old cemeteries and the gardens and the neighborhoods and some of the things he was talking about. And it sounded great to me too. And it was about so he gave us I don't know what he did, but I felt like it was a little bait and switch because he told me Canada it was really American or vice versa. It was like $150 American money per person is what it worked out to for us, plus the tip. So it still cost about as much as an excursion would have, but it was just me and her, and we were in a pedicab, and we had bubbles and water and blankets, which we didn't even need the blanket. And he was amazing. The weather was incredible, and it drove us around. We got to feed peacocks. We got to see their lieutenant governor's mansion, gardens, was big public park. We went and saw the Queen's Park with the rose bushes, drove all the way around by the water. We went to Chinatown. Highly recommend. Highly recommend. If you're going, message me or put at the bottom you want his name. I know his name was Adrian Van something. I got his business card. I'm happy to share his information with you. I know it was Adrian Van something, but I would have to, he gave me a card to share. Incredible. There were lots of people out there. So there's other pedicabs, other multiple companies, but he was fantastic. Um, and that was a great way to do Canada. Then after it turned out to be a 3 hour pedicab because he upgraded us at some point. He's like, hey, for 50 more bucks, I can take you to such and such. We're like, let's go. We're having such a great time. So we did. After we were done, then we went to Bard and Banker, which I highly recommend. This was my second time at that adorable bar restaurant, and we got to hear all the history of it too from our tour guide. Great food. Eat outside in the dining room if you can. If you come into Canada at night, I've done both. There's a daytime and there's nighttime. If you come in at daytime, it's better because you have more time, you get to see more things. But if you go at nighttime, go to they have great music. It's a pub, dancing, food, all the things. It's fantastic. Then we went and did just a little bit of shopping. I was wiped out by that point. My 73-year-old mother was spinning circles around me that day for some reason. By the end of the day, I was like, I'm done. I can't do anymore. So that was the end of that. It's funny. I was going to talk about some of the shopping that I did, but I'll just tell you right now, I didn't do a whole lot of shopping. The spa experience, I did do the spa. Spas are very, very expensive on the ships. You just have to be prepared for that. And they are going to upsell you. They're going to try to upsell you on things that you need. My very first spa that I ever went on, I was introduced to the Elemis facial and bath and all that. And I've actually stayed on Elemis for 8 years since then. So I knew I needed more. So she upsold me. And just to give you an idea of what this looks like, this is the top of the line Elemis. So I got the Elemis Ultra Smart Pro Collagen Aqua Infusion Mask. This is like a 20-minute mask. I have not yet looked these up to see what the street price would be to see if I got a deal or not. So I'll have to look it up after. Then I got the Elemis Pro Collagen Ultra Smart Day Cream. The lady, she's doing my massage. She says, or this was her facial. We got a facial. Best facial ever because she added a much more massage to the facial. It was so good. But she says to me, you don't need any more hydration. You have all the hydration you possibly need, which is great since I'm 53 years old. She goes, you need lift, lift. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Anyway, LMS Ultra Smart Pro Collagen Night Genius Cream, and I got the serum. These 4 bottles, take a guess. Take a guess. How much? 1200 $1,200 for these 4. I can't tell you if they're worth it right now because I've only been using them. I've only been home for 2 days. So we shall find out. I did get on the ship, you will see all kinds of things, but jewelry is a very big one. I got my mom a pair of turtle earrings. I got a pair of turtle earrings. This is the Larimar, is it? The stone. I just got them on the ship, but you can also get them in ports when you get off in the ports. And then I also, this is something I do every time I go on the ship. Usually these are cheaper when I get back on and I look at regular prices. I got a pair of Guess sunglasses. These were only 50 bucks. These were not expensive sunglasses, but I put them on and I just loved them. And I said, I'll take them. These are Gucci and these were marked at like 537, I think it was, and I got them for 429 or something. I'm gonna look it up and find out for sure, but I love them. I think they're great. I do this all the time when I go on cruises. For some reason, sunglasses is my thing. I like to buy sunglasses on cruise ships. And then I got this cute little dream catcher out in Alaska, and I bought my mom a great big one. And I gave her shopping money too for her birthday to go shopping, so she had a great time. I think that's all I bought. I didn't buy a whole lot. I don't think I bought much on the ship. I think I bought Advil at one point because I was running out, and I bought my mom some shampoo because she forgot to pack it. That's it. So I did not spend a lot of extra money outside of excursions. Spa was a lot, and yeah, and that's what we did. So there's a quick little, that's not quick, this is almost an hour long. There's a recap for you. Let me know what other questions you have. If I have answers for you, I'm more than happy to either type out an answer for you or come back and make you a video. I'm Lori Ballin, and I hope you enjoyed this today.